Alright, using this diagram of the body, this is what we are going to be measuring. Don't mind my nails. So we need a shoulder measurement, we need across the front chest, we need from your shoulder to your waist, we need your front of your waist, the front of your hip, because we're making a jacket. I usually take these measurements individually. Then we have the across the back of your, is this here? Your back, across your back. Then we have the back of your bust, the back of your waist, and the back of your hip. We also need the measurement from your waist to your hip. And of course, your full length of your jacket, if it's going to be longer or it's going to be shorter, wherever. So these are the measurements. So we have the bust, front waist, as I had said before. So this is what we'll be making. I saw Balmain's white blazer. This is a double-breasted blazer. Now for the breakdown of design. So we're gonna have it's double-breasted, but it's only going to be one set of buttons that is actually overlapped. These buttons that I have here are really attached. They won't be closing the jacket. They'll just be there for design. So these two buttons alone will be overlapped. And so we have the center front line would be around here, and you can extend to about 3 inches for the overlapping. Right? It will also have some princess seam running along here and 2 pockets. It's gonna have a collar and a lapel. Okay, so I'm using graph paper. I'm going to let one of these big square represents an inch center back. Right? So the first thing you do, you square your line. Alright, so this will be the neck. So we measure 3 inches across, put a mark, or you could do your neck measurement, and then we measure around 1.5 inches down, and we're going to connect to form a square. Alright, from this square you mark around 1/2 inch down and around 1 inch from this side and 1/2 inch here, just so that when we're forming the circle for the neck hole, it's completely square. You just don't draw a line like this, but you draw a nice curve. So from here I just connect like that, and I'll have a perfectly squared curve for my neck. Alright, next thing is to do the shoulder measurement, which was 16, so half of that would have been 8 inches. So we have 8 inches right here. We mark it, and we're going to extend this line all the way down around 8 or so inches. Alright, from our shoulder measurement, which is 8 inches, you're going to go down 1 inch and 3/4, which is approximately here, and you're going to draw a line from here to here, and that is your shoulder slope. You could have measured your arms depth, which is from your shoulder to under your arm right here, or you could just use say 7.5 inches, which is what I'll be using. You can make further adjustments when you're doing your fitting. So if it's too tight, you cut it down a little. If it's too low, then when you're doing your final pattern, you add back however much measurement. So from your shoulder slope, we're going to go and measure 7.5 inches. It's already half or 3/4. 7.5 is around right here, and you put a mark, and this would be your bust line. So from here now, you have this 7.5 inches, could be more, could be less. You find halfway of that, which is 3 1/4, right here, and you square a line across. Of course, I'm using a graph paper, so everything is square. On this line now that you'll be squaring across, let me draw that line in. This is where you get your back width measurement, which I had to be 14.5, so half of that would be 7 1/4, 7 1/4, which is somewhere around here. Or there's this other rule that says that from this line that we drew all the way down, could have been extended a little bit more or whatever, you could just go in 1 inch from this and that would be okay. Or you could measure the 7 1/4. Remember that you can always adjust it when you make your pattern. So I'll just use the 1 inch because that works for me. So I'll mark right here. And for the bust level line now, we're going to plot in our bust measurement, which from our paper it is 17 inches, and of course you're doing half of the pattern, so half of 17 inches we will plot along this line. So that will be 8.5, but because it's a jacket and I'll like a little bit more room, since I'll be wearing an undershirt and probably another undershirt, then I'll just make it 9. So that will be out here. So I added a 1/2 inch ease. So right now I can simply, or from this line, I'll go down and just like 1/2 inch right there. And then, so I get it perfectly squared. And from this line, I'll probably go in 1/2 inch, which is right here. Okay. And all I need to do is just to connect these points to make my armhole. And just like that, I have an armhole. So this is the top of my pattern. So I have my neck hole. Of course, you could rub this line out now. We have our shoulder, we have our armhole. So the next thing we're going to plot now is our waist. Now on our paper we had a measurement called nape, which is right here to your waist. So that's 14 inch. There's approximately down here, and we will square a line across. So we now have our waist measurement, and the back of our waist was 14, which is 7 inches. Plus I add a 1/2 ease because I need some ease, which is right here. Plus we're going to do some darts, 1 inch darts, and you add it. And you connect the line from here to wherever it falls. Now I want my jacket to fall at my hip. So from my waist to my hip is 8. So I find my 8 inch right here. I have to extend that line, and then I'll plot in my hip measurement. So there's my hip measurement. Now what I will do, if I was doing it on large scale, I'll take my hip curve and I'll go up a 1/2 inch right here and make a nice little curve. Because when we're joining seams together, they're supposed to join at right angles or along a straight line, which makes them join better. So if I have this triangular point right here and then the front has another triangular point, it will not join smoothly. So I'll go up a 1/2 inch and use my curve ruler to create this nice little curve. So now for our darts, we already said that we wanted a 1-inch dart. So from here to here, we find halfway between. I normally just use 4.5 inches. And this is where I'll put my dart. So I'll mark right here. And then, given that it's a 1-inch dart, so that's 1/2 inch on either side. So I'll square my line all the way up to about 2 inches below my bust line. So I'll stop right here. Square this line all the way down to plot my dart. So I now have in my dart, and it's going to be a princess seam. So I need to connect it with a nice little curve to this line, so I can square this line up a bit more. Well, I should have squared this line up a bit more, and then I'll just connect it all the way here, and that's my princess seam. So that's pretty much it. So we have our neck, our shoulder, armhole, all the way down to our side. So I went and did the same thing for the front. Only difference is that for the front you go down by 4 inches as opposed to 1.5, because it's the front. And where I step out 1 inch right here for the back, I step out 1.5 inches for the front. You probably have to go back and still make an adjustment to this by removing some more fabric from here to make it fit nice and flat. But for now, I'll take out 1.5 inches. As I said before, pattern making isn't, a fixed science. You make it, you try it, and you adjust it. Now, unless you have that supermodel figure where you have from your shoulder to your waist at the front is the same exact measurement as your back, you're going to have to make this adjustment. So for the back, we have from the side seam here to the back of the waist is approximately 7.75 inches. So 7.75 inches, right? Now, from your shoulder to the back of your waist, it's probably 1 inch or so shorter than from the shoulder to the front. So when you're plotting your measurement to get where your waistline will be, it's going to be further down at the front than the back. Say for this pattern, the shoulder to the waist is 16 inches. Now for the front from the shoulder to the waist is 17 inches. So you cannot draw this line across at 17 inches and then plot the hip measurement from there, because then the side seams won't match. So whatever you got for the back, which is 7.75, you mark that 7.75 here, so that these two side seams will curve at exactly the same point. So this curve is what we're talking about. Will curve at exactly the same point. Now the adjustment you make now, you'll find your regular waist measurement, which will be further below this line, and then you plot it right there and put in your darts, and you carry on. First thing I did was to adjust my neckline to 5 inches. Now I decided that I'm going to be using 3.5 inch for the break or the double breasted part. So at the waist, the actual waist, I marked 3.5 inches right here. If we're making a full double breasted jacket like those military jacket that buttons all the way up to the top, all I had to do was to take this line, bring it all the way up, and then connect it to here. And probably if I wanted to like shape here, and that would be it. So this line here all the way up, carried across and connect to this neckline, and I would have gotten the military style button all the way up double breasted jacket. But I only want this part to be double breasted, so I'm going to join my fold line, which is a line that shows you where your color would fall when you break it. So from here and connect it to the neckline. Create that fold line as I said, which is where your jacket would fold. So you just roughly draw a line from your shoulder all the way down to right here, and we complete at the bottom of the jacket because it's, oh, probably mine is in too much. Let's check the design again. So here would have been center front, and sorry, so this would have been center front, and then this line comes across center front. So yeah, I need to adjust this line. So this is my center front line, so this line should be a little bit more to here. Yeah, anyways, so fold line, you trace out the shape of your collar, how it would look, so therefore you can fix to see if the width is wide enough. So I trace my collar on here around 2 inches and all the way down, so I can see that when I have on my jacket, this is where my collar would fall. You would then mirror this image, so you're going to mirror the line that you trace. When you like the shape of your collar or your lapel, sorry, you can mirror the image on this side of the line. So I can draw here and complete the collar. Let me do that. So I have mirrored the line, which is in pink, and I have also adjusted the bottom of this. So when it's time for me to cut now, I'll just, this line is just a temporary line. I'll cut along the pink line. So that's my new my new neckline, which is in pink, and then I'll go across. I'll just go straight across. Even though this line is a bit up, I'll just follow the line and go straight across and connect it to that line. So this would be, because I need everything to be kept at right angle, so this is where you will cut. So you have your lapel, you have your double-breasted break, and you have your slant right here. So the next thing to do is to cut out your princess seam, which is to cut on the outer portions of this line. And of course, remember to add all your seam allowance. You're going to add a 1/2 inch to your shoulder, a 1/2 inch to your armhole. Your side seam could be anywhere from 5/8 to 1 inch, depending on how much you want to add. To the bottom, 1 inch, 1/2 inch along here. And that's pretty much it. Let me cut it out. So this is it. Now before I cut out my princess seam, I had made some marks along the line, so you can know exactly how to put it back together. Just connect along these notches. So this is pretty much it. This is the front, and using my fold line, this is how my jacket will break once I'm finished with it. It'll break there. I'll have my button here,